Now, the Criterion Collection releases usually include essays or liner notes in the leaflets or the booklets that come with each release. These essays are almost always also available on the website criterion.com, the Criterion Collection website. So these essays, I think, are fundamental to the identity of the Criterion Collection and what it tries to push forth in terms of its marketing materials and also in terms of what it has to offer. The essays themselves each provide, by the particular essayist, and it differs each time, a certain perspective on the work, and therefore the discussion that is had in these essays very often is very relevant and very insightful and very helpful to my own particular learning about a particular piece of cinema. So the essays to me are always very important. I don't talk about the essays very much, or I haven't had the opportunity to talk about essays that much on this YouTube channel of mine, and I'd like to change that. But just to let you know, I have always been a fan of the essays, and I'm always on the lookout for really good ones. And this is, again, my own personal subjective view, and I know that the world of the Criterion essays and the liner notes is one that is very varied and nuanced, and like the character of cinema itself, what one person might like in an essay might not necessarily connect with another person. So tastes can vary. I appreciate that. So there are many essays out there, and I think that I could have named any other, five, but for purposes of this particular video, which I'm making now at the end of December 2018, I have chosen these five as the essays that I consider for me to be my favorite essays from the Criterion Collection liner notes. So let me share with you these essays. And of course, if you have any contenders or any suggestions for for essays that you think are really great, or liner notes that you think are really great, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your comments. And I strongly suggest that you read these essays, especially after you've seen the films, because sometimes the essays do contain spoilers, or they do contain certain aspects of the film, and so I think it's probably worthwhile to read the essays after having seen the film. So when I describe the essays now, I'll try to be as vague as possible. Okay, so with that in mind, let me give you my top 5 favorite Criterion essays from Criterion releases from 2018. First one is spine number 912. This is the essay that's included in the booklet that was with the great film, An Actor's Revenge. This is the film by Kon Ichikawa. And this is the essay that's included in the booklet here. There we go. The essay is called An Actor's Revenge and a Director's Triumph by Michael Sragow. Now, this is a pointed, fascinating essay, because what Sragow is doing here is that he is focusing in on the story and the film in the context of Ichikawa and his career and his methods. And by doing so, the essayist is, in essence, promoting Ichikawa as someone to be considered in the context of world-class cinema. And indeed, he makes a wonderfully compelling case, because the writing of this essay is stellar. I find this to be a wonderful case for the greatness of Ichikawa in the context, of course, of An Actor's Revenge, but also in the broader context of his career. So this is a delightful read. And it makes me very happy because I admit that while I admire very much Ichikawa's work, I tend to forget to mention him whenever I mention the great Japanese director, so to speak. And that's my own fault. And I really need to remedy that. But this essay, An Actor's Revenge and A Director's Triumph, it makes me realize that I need to mention Ichikawa more in the pantheon of great Japanese directors. So this is a really well-written essay, and I recommend it highly for those of you who are interested. And this film in particular is amazing, mind-blowing. If you haven't seen it, stop what you're doing right now. Just stop this video and just try to find it and watch it, because you will not be disappointed. Then after you watch the film, go read the essay, because the essay makes a compelling case for the greatness of Kon Ichikawa. Next is Spy Number 937. So this is my number 4 choice. This is the essay that comes with the film Dragon Inn. Dragon Inn is a wonderful film, King Hu. And the essay that's included with this release is actually in this poster fold-out right here. It folds out into this poster, and it's very nice. So in the back of this poster, you've got this essay. And the essay is also available on the Criterion website, I understand. And the essay is called Poised for Battle by Andrew Chan. What I love about this essay is that it gives us insight into King Hu and his career. And it also gives us specific insight into how this film, Dragon Inn, figures into his very interesting career. What I didn't realize until I read this essay, and this is because I'm not the biggest King Hu expert. I really want to know more, but I really don't. My knowledge is extremely, extremely limited. I know perhaps that those of you out there who are Asian film specialists, you probably know you have so much wealth of information, much more than I could possibly ever even begin to comprehend. So perhaps you might already know this information, but the information that's discussed in the Andrew Chan essay here is very helpful for me, because it provides the context of Hu's career, and it also lets me know how this film is it figures into the filmography of King Hu. It also lets me know how this film is similar to films of the past, Touch of Zen, etc. But also, this essay discusses how this film seems to separate itself or distinguish itself from the rest of King Hu's filmography up to that point in time, which is incredible, not only in terms of filmmaking style, but it also in terms of narrative choices that have been made, in terms of specific plot points, specific story points, character points, which the author or the essayist describes as being distinguishable from King Hu's earlier work. This is very, very helpful for me, and it does so in a way that is detailed, that goes into specifics of the plot. So again, you should read this after you have seen the film or upon having a knowledge of what transpires in this film. This is an illuminating, very insightful essay. And I love it because it gives us something also about the Chinese tradition, Beijing opera traditions. It also gives us certain approaches to narrative, which I discussed earlier, which distinguished itself from earlier films like Come Drink With Me or A Touch of Zen. And I think this is something that helps me to appreciate the film Dragon Inn. You know, it's very interesting. It's very easy to group this with A Touch of Zen. But really, the more I think about it, thanks to this essay, the more I realize that it's its own beast. And that's wonderful. And the essay helps me to see the film in its proper context, in its proper light. And so I think this essay, Poised for Battle by Andrew Chan, is remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. I think it's really great. Yes, this is a remarkable essay, incredibly important, and it's a wonderful launching pad for those of you who want to learn more about King Hu. It's very helpful for those of you who are just getting into his works and just getting into him as a filmmaker. So highly, highly recommended. Dragon Inn. My number 3 choice is spine number 940, the essay that comes with the film The Ballad of Gregorio Cortez. The essay is called A Cinematic Corrido by Charles Ramirez Berg. Now, he is a professor of film studies at the University of Texas at Austin, and he has written an essay that is packed. It is packed, and it is rich, and I mean this in a positive way. It zigzags so delightfully because he does something very interesting. He focuses in on the film itself, of course, and also he goes into the general background, not only of Robert Young, but also the producer, Esparza, and his role and his significance in the Esparza's significance in the production. And also we get this idea of the discussion of the film itself in the context of Westerns, and how the film can be seen as a kind of revisionist Western. And also we get discussion of the technique, the film technique behind the film. And this is such an inventive, experimental-like film. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you do. It has a slightly, how should I put it, non-traditional method of storytelling. And the essay, in fact, goes into this. I think the essay compares it to what was to come later in terms of temporal narrative structure that we would find in Quentin Tarantino films, I think. So yes, here we go. Yes, so an extra dimension of the film's non-traditional narrative is its use of the same kind of non-linear plotting employed by Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction a decade before Quentin Tarantino made it trendy. I love the second sentence here. Often mentioned in this regard is the film's Rashomon-like technique of depicting various versions of events as they are described by different witnesses. So this is a great essay because it talks about it in the context of sort of a production history, the context of the underlying story, also in the context of revisionist Westerns, and also in the context of filmmaking technique and film language in general. So that's what I meant when it says it sort of goes to different places. And it does so deftly and so cleanly. I love it. It's really great. Really, really great. And this is one of the great essays for a film that really should be watched by everyone. The Ballad of Gregorio Cortez. Have you seen it yet? If you haven't, really, you are in store for something that will really, I think, excite you. This is a fantastic film, and the essay serves to help and to elucidate and to provide further great context to this film. So this essay is fantastic. Highly recommend it. So the essay for The Ballad of Gregorio Cortez, my number 3 pick. My number 2 choice for favorite essay is for the film Spine number 916. So this is the film Women in Love. The essay in question is titled Bohemian Rhapsody by Linda Ruth Williams, who is a professor of film at Exeter University. Now, the essay appears on this, again, fold-out method. It is also available, I believe, on the Criterion website, so you're welcome to check it out there. And this essay is so well written, so skillfully written, and it's lovely because a discussion of this film has to involve, in one aspect or another, a discussion of D.H. Lawrence. It just has to. And it does so, this essay does so immediately, and it does so very well and very cleanly, straight to the point, and so brilliantly. And then it also discusses the potential differences between the film and D.H. Lawrence's novel. And by that throughway, we get into a discussion of Ken Russell and the impact that Ken Russell had on the production, obviously. And it's really fantastic because we really get a sense of Ken Russell here as a true artist. I love the depiction here about Ken Russell and the way he, the senses that he really encouraged this truly artistic environment to inspire artists to create art, and it's a really, and to attract these great actors and this wonderful talent together to create a really marvelous, breathtaking, in many respects, breathtaking film. And his knowledge of art and music, it comes through in this essay really, really well. And so I think that's such an important aspect of a discussion of Ken Russell and his work, because Ken Russell was so larger than life, and he was so intelligent, and he knew so much about art and music and literature. And he made these films that were groundbreaking. And Women in Love is so groundbreaking. It is at once, how should I put it? It feels so confined and liberating at the same time. I don't want to say any more, but I encourage you to watch the film if you haven't, because it is it's quite awe-inspiring. And when I read this essay by Linda Ruth Williams, I just get so excited about this film and about Ken Russell in general. And I think that's why I love this essay so much. Bohemian Rhapsody by Linda Ruth Williams. It's a true, it's an essay that is, yeah, it's just, you know that the essayist has respect for Russell, and which is what we need, because again, I think more discussion of Ken Russell in the general collective conversations, I think the better off we all are, because Ken Russell is a true artist. I admire his work so much, and Women in Love is a landmark achievement, I think. So the essay here, Bohemian Rhapsody, in the film for the release Women in Love, is my number 2 choice. Please check this film out if you haven't already. And the essay is splendid. Again, please read the essay after you've seen the film, or at least I recommend that you do so. But in any event, the essay for Women in Love, my number 2 choice. My number 1 choice for favorite essay, favorite liner notes, favorite favorite essay, yes, is Spy Number 920. The essay is for the film The Virgin Suicides. The essay is by Megan Abbott, and the essay is called They Hadn't Heard Us Calling. And Megan Abbott is the Edgar Award-winning author of 8 novels, including Dare Me, The Fever, and the best-selling You Will Know Me. She is a staff writer on HBO's The Deuce. Her next novel, Give Me Your Hand, comes out in July 2018. So Megan Abbott is a writer, and a professional writer at that. So we are getting the perspective of another writer, and she is giving us her insight as a writer, which I think is so helpful for me, because she is focusing in this essay, in particular, on aspects of this film, which is an adaptation of the novel by Jeffrey Eugenides. Now, I remember reading this book, but I admit that I am not the biggest expert in the book or the author. And so having this essay really is helpful for me, because Megan Abbott does something really remarkable here. Is she goes through certain aspects of the film in general terms and broad terms, but also sometimes in specific terms. And she goes through ways in which the film seems to have an interaction with the novel. It seems to stray away slightly from the novel. And all these interactions and all these contradictions or differentiations are all discussed in the context of the artist Sofia Coppola and her choices and the way she views these characters. And to me, this is, I think, the greatest strength, because I think for me, I really want to know this work as it stands as a film, but also in the context of how it stands when compared to the underlying work by Eugenides. And so this essay is a wonderful primer and also very insightful, and it goes by, it reads so well. It's so smooth in terms of a read. It's quite long, well, not really long actually, but it's one of these stretched out things. But yeah, I take that back. It's not long. It's quite short, but it is. There is a lot that is covered, and you can tell that the author, Megan Abbott, is an expert in both the film and the novel, which is precisely what we need when we're talking about The Virgin Suicides, because there are so many choices. I don't want to be specific here, but there are so many choices that are made, for example, that differentiate from the novel. And these choices, I think, illuminate certain aspects of the film in a very intriguing way. And this shows us certain aspects of the Lisbon family, but also the way that Sofia Coppola thinks and the way she creates as an artist. This is what I want to know. And the essay provides such a wonderful context for this further learning about this film. It's so... This essay makes it so much easier to appreciate this film for what it is and how it behaves as an adaptation, but also how it lives and breathes as its own film, as a creation of Sofia Coppola. And because of that, I think this essay by Megan Abbott, They Hadn't Heard Us Calling, I think this essay is my favorite essay. I find it to be so appealing. And yeah, gosh, I really should reread the novel thanks to Megan Abbott's discussion of it here. Really wonderful. So this is my favorite essay in the Criterion 2018 releases, the essay by Megan Abbott. So I recommend that you read the essay, of course, after you have seen the film. If you haven't seen the film yet, please do so. This one was a film that I had to warm to. I did see it many years ago, soon after it was released, and I thought it was okay. Now watching this, I do see its beauty and its hazy, hypnotic beauty, and so I would recommend this highly. The essay is my favorite, I think, of the Criterion 2018 releases. So Megan Abbott's essay, highly, highly recommended. Okay, so this is it. This is my favorite essay of 2018 from the Criterion 2018 releases. So if you have any questions or comments, or if you have any other essays that you would like to mention, please feel free to let me know in the comments section below. Otherwise, my friends, I will see you again very soon.